always love celebrating Diwali in this community because it offers me a chance also to revisit some of the themes and the stories and the prayers that I grew up with, but as part of a movement to end poverty, as a part of a movement for liberation. And as my sister, my Hindu sister Anu shared, these are very dark and unsettled times. All of the injustices that we have known are heightened and magnified. 140 million people in this country are poor or one emergency away from financial ruin, and billions more around the world are facing deep economic insecurity amidst accelerated climate disaster, failing infrastructure, and the willful neglect of politicians. Our political system is unwilling or unable to step up to the demands that people are making all over the world for peace, for freedom, for health, for housing, for care, rather than violence. And yet all we're getting is more violence and war and genocide. And so as we begin to enter the season of Diwali, this year it actually falls on October 31st and November 1st, so overlapping with a lot of other traditions, including remembering the Day of the Dead. I think through this, through all of this violence around us, we have to remember, we have to believe in something better, not only because we deserve better, but because we know it's possible. We don't live in a time of poverty. We actually live in a time of abundance alongside deep poverty. And there are good people every day making sure, doing our very best to make sure that those around us have what we need, whether that's through mutual aid and disaster relief in Western North Carolina, or community dinners in Nelsonville, Ohio, or in rural counties, schools and communities coming together to make sure that folks who don't have access to social welfare programs have what they need, or in Jackson Heights or Queens, making sure that people have health and housing and everything in language. Anywhere where there is a gap, where our needs aren't being met by these failing systems, we also have people tirelessly working to fill those gaps. So we know it's possible, right? And if we can do it, if we can provide for ourselves, and certainly we can organize ourselves, the many, many millions, and in fact, billions of us who are doing this every day to push our societies and governments and politics in this direction. Not that it will be easy, not that it won't come without conflict or difficulty, but surely it's possible if we make it so. So this is the spirit in which I would like us to gather today, the spirit of possibility, the spirit of hope and renewal and light for Diwali. And as Adam mentioned, this is a celebration honored by Hindus all around the world. It's a new year, and it's celebrated in many different ways. It's often known as the Festival of Light. I have a candle here. We have the lights on in our homes. We clean our homes. Usually, partially that's because this comes after the monsoon season. So after you clean out everything, you whitewash the walls, you make sure everything is, put the candles on to make sure the mosquitoes don't return. But there are also all these stories that are associated with this time of year, this renewal, this rebirth. And it's when people who are exiled from their communities return, and the community celebrates. They were wrongfully exiled, they're wrongfully kicked out. And when they're welcomed back, there is a celebration filled with light and joy and hope and possibility. In my tradition, we celebrate and honor the goddess Lakshmi, who is born out of this epic battle between the gods and demons, out of this massive churning of the ocean that threatens the whole of humanity. And when she appears, she comes out of this lotus flower, which blooms in muddy, swampy waters to create a world of abundance. Now, it's interesting, she's often portrayed as a goddess of wealth, and she's kind of been, I think, minimized to only thinking about financial wealth. Diwali is often considered a celebration of wealth and money, but really she represents far more than that, given how she appears and what she holds in her hands. What she's talking about really is abundance of love, abundance of health, abundance of life, abundance of resources for us all, for our liberation. And as we kind of continue in our service, I have to also say that the history of Diwali and of this faith tradition has been troubled by the problematic role of caste that has fostered hate and division in our society, used to oppress millions and millions of people as outcasts, as beneath the rest, to the extent that many have abandoned this faith. They become Buddhist or Muslim or have abandoned faith altogether. And today, Hinduism is weaponized by powerful people to sow division and isolate Muslim populations, to justify systemic marginalization and exclusion and oppression. These influences are present among the diaspora here in the United States as well, with powerful institutions funded to propagate these hateful politics of Hindu nationalism. And while we can't fix all of that here in this hour of service that we have together in Freedom Church, we can't undo all those generations, of violence. But now that we know about them, we know how important it is to reclaim and to rebuild a liberatory Hindu tradition that counters that hate and fear, that reimagines our traditions and stories and prayers for our times. In fact, one of the scriptures that I was raised with, the Gita, has a passage where Krishna, who's a god, says that he's born in every age, reborn in every age, to right the wrongs of that era, to make sure that the world is on the path of righteousness once again. Sounds a lot like a Kairos time to me. Sounds a lot like the times we're in. So this Diwali, and until the world is set right again, we can commit ourselves to creating and building this liberatory Hinduism, where if we have been exiled or marginalized or pushed out of wherever we actually belong, we can return. We can return to our homes. We can return to a place where we are welcome and beloved and free and thriving in the world of abundance that has been created for us all.